This tendency to beg crucial questions is openly exposed by Dr. Stein when the issue pertains to the existence of God, because he demands that the theists present him with evidence for the existence of God. Will gladly and readily do. There is evidence for the created order itself, testifying to the wisdom, power, plan, and glory of God. One should not miss the testimony of the solar system, persuasion of the sea, the amazing intricacies of the human body. There's the evidence of history, God's deliverance of his people, the miracles at Passover night in the Red Sea, the visions of Isaiah, the Shekinah glory in the temple, the virgin birth of Jesus, his mighty miracles, of course, his resurrection from the dead. In short, there's no shortage of empirical indicators or evidences of God's existence. So this is Dr. Bond saying this is Romans 1 territory. We look out and we see the intricacies of the universe, and then we look into Romans 1, which is specific revelation, and see the message that God has for us. And so the Christian idea of who God is, again, remember, he's arguing specifically for the Christian God, is that we'll see evidence for him in the universe and also in his own word. So this isn't something that's glanced over or devoided by Dr. Bonson. He says there is these physical indicators and empirical evidences that he can point to, but he's going to make a different way.
Right. So he says, Stein wants evidence for the existence of God. I'll give you evidence for the existence of God. And he lists off all this evidence for the existence of God, right? The solar system, the sea, or the human body, how it's put together, God's deliverance of the people, the resurrection of Jesus. So there's all kinds of evidence for the existence of God. But notice he said, Dr. Stein precludes the very possibility of any of this empirical evidence counting as proof for God's existence. Why? He says, Stein writes, quote, supernatural explanations are not allowed in science.
See our last book about scientism.
Atheist, well, he says, in advance, even before you even get to what the evidence is, Stein is committed to disallowing any theistic interpretation of nature, history, or experience. And so what he seems to overlook, that is what Stein seems to overlook, is that it is just as much begging the question on his part as it is on the part of the theist who appeals to such evidence. He has not at all proven by empirical observation and logic that his pre-commitment to naturalism is true. He's just assumed it in advance. So he's begged the question, right? By saying no supernatural explanations are allowed in science. Wait a minute. Where did that come from? That's just an assumption that you're making, and you haven't even proved it. Right? You assumed it in advance. You have a presupposition, a pre-commitment to naturalism that is driving your thinking. And so you don't even look at these various things as evidence. You can't even see those things as evidence. You disregard those things as evidence. And he says, look, that's your presupposition. That's your commitment to naturalism.
Yeah, prove to me that a supernatural being exists. Here's a supernatural being. Sorry, can't be supernatural, but you need to prove to me.
Because there is no supernatural.
When Bonson and presuppositionalists explain that everyone begs the question, they're referring to assumptional commitments, and assumptions are merely cognitive states. What is known as the fallacy of begging the question refers to circularity within arguments themselves. And so this assumptional begging question is not itself fallacious, but merely a conceptual or epistemologically inescapable state of mind. It says the unavoidable fact is that nobody is a disinterested observer seeing and interpreting the facts without a set of assumptions and pre-established rules.